Hey friends, it's my last day at home. I will sleep here tonight, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and get on the road. And how fitting to kick off 2022 with a departure from home into a new project. I mean, what a wonderful metaphor for starting a new cycle. I am, there's a lot of impulses kind of going on, and I will say I'm in an interesting place as far as this departure, because it feels so I've never left my family for this long since Annalise has been alive. I've never left my family since Katie and I have had a family. I've never left for this long, and that's really it's interesting. And I've got a fair amount of, I think, just energy. There's a charge around that, and of course, on one hand, I'm so excited to be launching this next chapter, and but there's also, but today, let it not go unmarked, is New Year's Eve. Tomorrow's New Year's Day, so this is the transition date into the next year. And Katie and I had a lovely dinner last night. Annalise spent the night at her grandparents', and we just had dinner together and had a conversation, and spoke like adult human beings for an extended period of time. It was really nice. And one of the things we did was just ask each other and then listen to what the past year has felt like, any reflections on the past year, and any projections or intentions for the new year. And what came up for me, I could, if I summarize everything that's happened in the last year on this post, it'll take me 45 minutes. So I'm not going to try to do that. It's been an incredible year. Right at the beginning of this year, I had just begun teaching Kyle Cease piano lessons. He started promoting me. I met a handful of people who have since become incredibly important to my life, and amazing students, amazing friends, a whole new, not necessarily a whole new way of working or thinking about music, but a whole new level of expression of all of that, and a new network within which that is happening, and in a lot of ways also a shift towards it really feeling like that's the core of my life. That's the bedrock. The work that I'm doing there really feels like it's supporting me, it's nurturing me, it's both creating spiritual evolution within me, because I'm navigating this new territory, and I'm evolving, and I'm changing the way I think and the way I work, and it's made that central to my work life, to my professional life, in a way that it wasn't before. It was more peripheral. My professional life was kind of more this area where I was working in theater and waiting for the next project, waiting for the next gig, and now I feel much more like my universe is, my professional universe is contained within me, and I occasionally reach out or strike out, or go get in a car and drive to Houston so that I can do a project. But that doesn't feel like it's, even though this is a massive thing I'm about to do, it doesn't feel like it's the core anymore. It feels like it's more something that's happening, that's exciting, that's in addition to the core. That's a really interesting shift. And I think it affirms a lot of the early work I did this year in terms of really deciding this is what I want to make my life about. I want to make my life about spiritual evolution, deep inner work, combining that with musical work, which it's like a hand in glove relationship there. So they're so suited to each other, and really kind of giving that my all for most of this year. So I can be really proud of that, and I feel really secure in that now in a beautiful way. I've also learned that some things about creative responsibility, in a similar vein, this notion that I feel like it's still at the beginning of creative spirituality, where what I'm exploring and what I'm both teaching and practicing is the creative process as a spiritual path, as a spiritual practice. And it's so funny how this works, because in the same way that when I decided to make mindfulness and piano my core kind of thing, out of the woodwork pops Madeline Bruiser and becomes a teacher for me in that same stream. It was like I joined the river and then the water was flowing. And so now I have this teacher out ahead of me, even as I'm also going down the river and, bringing students along behind me. Like, there's a flow there that once I locked into it, it wasn't just that I started doing it. I became part of a larger flow system, which feels really cool. Well, that kind of has also happened with creative spirituality, even just in the kind of, I would say, preliminary ways that I've been exploring that, because no sooner had I kind of declared that was, or even just defined that for myself, and all of a sudden, half my students start reading Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, and I come across Chogyam Trungpa's book, True Perception, The Path of Dharma Art. And it's like all of a sudden, again, by defining it and by deciding this is what I'm really about, boom, out of the woodwork comes this community of both students who are working on that with me and elders who are who have gone before and have done this, have taken a similar approach in their own creative work and in their own spiritual practice. So that's another thing that I'm locking into, and that's one that I really want to develop in 2022 as I go forward, because I feel like there's just infinite potential there. It's in direct alignment with everything I've kind of decided and declared so far with making spiritual practice and inner work the focus of my life. I've also learned some things about creative responsibility, because by doing the cabaret, which is going to come back. I know I've missed several weeks now, but it is coming back. But that practice for the period that I did it really taught me the feeling of being of making movement on a creative project in the creative domain, while having 100% responsibility for the project. And that's, again, sort of, it's not that I've never done that before, but I had made my focus very much projects where I was a contributor, but not necessarily in control. And on one level, I don't necessarily crave control in the sense of like I must be able to determine every detail of something. I it's not so much, I don't think I have the need to have my word be the final word. However, on another level, unless I'm doing that, I never experience the feeling of actually everything about the product or the piece resting on my shoulders. And that changes my relationship to it. It's way easier to pinpoint where the problems are and to point out what's being done incorrectly when we are not responsible for the final overall thing. And learning that both engenders an appreciation for the people who are doing that work, however imperfectly they may be doing that work. They are doing that work. They are carrying that burden, and we are not. If we're merely contributors to a project, we're not carrying the same burden. So whatever stones we might throw at their process or their perspective or how they want to go about something, ultimately we have to concede that it's resting on their shoulders and they're taking responsibility for it. So it creates a kind of respect there. And it also creates a sense, in me of really craving that, because when we do that, there's a kind of stability that comes into the whole thing, where we know this is actually mine. I actually own this. I am responsible. And the reflection that I get is a direct contribution, a direct investment in my own evolution, my own learning. And that's an amazing feeling. And doing the cabaret, even for those 6 or 7 weeks that I was consistent with it, gave me that feeling very consistently. Felt really, kind of significantly formative. And I really do look forward to getting back to it in 2022. There's another aspect to what I've been looking at for the year, and this is a bit more of a practical kind of, it's more of like a pattern, a pattern of behavior, a pattern of thinking that I've had that I'm also addressing, which is I've had a tendency financially, there's remained a kind of a disconnect between how I think about money and how I engage with money. And I've made a lot of progress on that this year. Much has moved. I have a whole new sense of what it means to manifest and create flow, create abundance, allow abundance. Ultimately, we're never creating abundance. We're allowing abundance to enter our life, partly by recognizing what's already there and feeling gratitude for it, and not reaching for the next thing, because in that reaching, there's actually a kind of repulsion of the thing that we're trying to invite in. But one of my own particular things is I've had a tendency to use money, to basically overspend and use money as a kind of, I don't even know what to call it, like a pacifier. It's not an original thing, but it's like a way of using money that it's like shopping. It's like therapy shopping, comfort shopping. And I don't think I have necessarily that much of that, but at the same time, I have to look at my finances and go, well, where am I spending money that I don't need to be? And why would I do that? And something came through recently, really powerfully. I was sitting in meditation and I had a really powerful flash, which basically amounted to this feeling of like, okay, well, if I have my own integrity, if I have my own sort of financial center, what do I need so badly that it's worth giving that up? And the answer is, it was a rhetorical question to myself, and the answer is obviously nothing. Nothing is worth giving that up. And so, and yet I wouldn't say that I certainly haven't lived the whole year that way. And one of my very kind of central intentions for 2022 is to basically never spend money that I don't have, never put things on a credit card when I don't have the money to cover them. Never spend money that I don't have. But and on some level, that's a kind of restrictive thing that I'm trying to encourage myself to do. But I think it's going to feel incredibly liberating. I think it's going to feel incredibly liberating to remain with the perspective of nothing is actually, I don't need anything so badly that it's worth giving up that core stability and integrity. I'm in a strictly financial sense. Just if I'm overspending, if I'm spending money I don't have, then I'm not living in financial integrity and maintaining that core. There's nothing that's worth compromising. So yeah, that's one of my kind of very tangible resolutions, or I'm hesitant to call it a resolution because what I'm wanting to turn it into is more of a practice. This video post has been such an incredible practice for me this year, and taught me. You could arguably say that it's taught me more than anything else, any other single thing I've done this year. And I do well with practices. Practices seem to engage me, and the consistency and the regularity and the capacity to mark progress and see progress over time is one of the things that really energizes me, galvanizes me, inspires me, keeps me coming back. So I'm making this a financial practice for 2022. And I'm working out some of the details of how that, I may outline that at some future post when I have a really clear sense of well, here's what this practice is really going to look like. But those are kind of my central reflections and some intentions for 2022. I have such incredible gratitude for this year, and to all of you who are watching these posts. And I got this incredible letter from a family member of my wife's, family member of Katie's, the other day, just affirming that this post is resonating with her and making a difference. And I mean, I was like, both Katie and I were sitting there kind of sort of on the verge of tears, because it's so beautiful to see, to have something have an effect that I didn't know it was having, and to know that it's making a difference, and to have that relationship in my life as a result with each of you and with a larger community. So couldn't possibly express enough gratitude for this year, and I'm looking forward to another wonderful year ahead. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Love you. Have a wonderful day. Have a happy new year. Have an awesome start to 2022. I'll see you next year.